I'm John Dilley with TooeleTV.com. Today we're here out in Erda. I'm with Scott Bonnell with LastRyde.com. How long have you been doing the Last Ryde?
I've been doing the Last Ryde after I got it built. I've had it on the market for 4.5 years. I've known about it for 5 years prior to that. So these motorcycle hearses have been on the market for 10.5 years.
And how did you first find out about these?
I heard about it on a radio station coming home from work, and I thought, that's a great idea. You know, I need to look into that. So I came home, looked it up on the internet. Sure enough, I saw pictures of it, and I wanted to have one. And at that time, they wanted $65,000. After that, by the time I got around to doing something, they wanted $85,000. And I just thought, that's way too much. There's no payback. So I ended up selling my irrigation water to buy the bike, and I custom built the Hearse.
You built the Hearse?
Yeah, I built the Hearse from scratch, started with 20-foot pieces of channel iron.
That's amazing. So how long did it take you to build the Hearse?
I spent probably, myself and my employees spent somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 months to piece it together, to weld, to re-weld, to grind, to re-weld. So it was where I wanted it to be, because I wanted it to look very clean. I wanted it to look like an old caisson Hearse pulled by a Harley Davidson, and the best of my knowledge, we accomplished that.
Yes, it looks great. It looks great. And how about the interior?
The interior has got a story all of its own. There's a lot of stories to this. We were going to Sturgis on a Thursday, and Monday night I was working on doing the interior, doing the drapes, and not doing a very good job. I built one of the scallops, and it turned out to be a half a heart rather than a true scallop. And I finally called my friends at Midwest Casket, and they said, yeah, bring it down. Well, 2 days later, they had it finished, and it is beautiful. We had already bought the material, the fabric. We knew the colors, but they're the ones that put the style into the Hearse and finished it off. They asked me how I was going to do the ceiling, and I told them, and they said, Scott, we'll take care of the ceiling. Don't you worry about it. And sure enough, they did the ceiling, and it's beautiful.
It is. I looked in there. It looks fantastic. Have you always been into motorcycles and Harleys?
I've always been into motorcycles. As a kid, I had a lot of different bikes, variation, and then I was away from it for a long time. I told my kids and I told my wife, I said, don't ever let me buy a bike. Don't ever let me buy a bike. When I heard about this, I was in trouble. I knew that I was in trouble, and that's why, it took us a while to put it together, but I like what we have together. And so I now have a Harley Davidson. I felt that I better go Harley.
So tell us a little bit more about your service, and how long have you been doing the service? How many services have you done? And what would somebody expect that type of service?
If we're asked to do a service, first of all, I've done 43 services. I've been in the funeral, the mortuary service business, servicing mortuaries since '85. When I was a kid, my dad bought Superior burial vaults. So I've known funeral directors for a long time. But it's for those people that use it, there is nothing better. I've had great compliments and gratitude from families to thank me for building the Hearse and for being at the service and being available. So it's been a good business. There certainly is no payback to it. But But sometimes we do things in life just because it's right. And that's what we do with a hearse. We make a couple bucks off of it, but we'll never pay the hearse off. There's just no way. But I enjoy it. I enjoy having the people. The back seat at a funeral, the back seat is reserved for the wife, the spouse, the significant other, the grandchild, the granddaughter, a family member. That's reserved for them to ride so they can go on the last ride with their loved one. What a family can expect is that I show up the day of the service before the viewing, and I'm set up so when the family gets there, they see the hearse. That's how it is normally with all the funeral homes. The hearse is always there. 99% of the time, the hearse is always there when the family gets there, and it's one less thing that the family has to worry about. I'm there for the viewing, for the funeral service, and then I try to talk the families into taking a little bit of ride. You know, if we can pass the shop, if we can pass the mall, if we can pass whatever, I like to do that rather than to go straight from the funeral service to the cemetery. Let's take a ride. Let's take a little detour. Then we go to the cemetery, and I'm there during all the proceedings at the cemetery. So that kind of gives you a rundown of what I do and how long I'm there. I usually have got about 4.5 hours invested in a service.
That's great. Sounds like a wonderful service. How can people get a hold of you?
They can find us on the internet under www.lastryde.com, and you spell ride RYDE.
All right. LastRyde.com, and also on Facebook, is that right?
Yes, we're on Facebook. Same way, look us up on Facebook. There's some great pictures on Facebook.
All right, thank you. It's a beautiful bike, a beautiful hearse, and I'm sure it's a beautiful service. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'm John Dilley with TooeleTV.com.